Okay, it's July 18th, and I'm sitting with Liisa.
Liisa, yeah.
Liisa DeNoble in Kingston. And it's just after 11 a.m. So just to start out, could you talk a little bit about what your job was while you were at the bunker?
Well, I arrived there as a young private, and well, I had a couple of years in at the time, and there were no civilians in the bunker in the way of administration, except the A.D. Ross company, who was ran the place, all the technical things and stuff like that. So they were the only civilians. So I was the first female there. So CO needed a secretary, and guess who got the job? So yeah, so I did all his administration, of course, and I did take on a lot of the typing because there wasn't that much to do, just working for the CO. So, and the orderly room would send me stuff to do, and I did do some on-job training to progress to the next level, which was corporal, which I got while I was in CARP. So I did that training, and I worked in the orderly room on and off for short periods. But my main job was the CO secretary.
Was there anything that you were restricted from doing while you were at the bunker, or places you were restricted from going?
I believe there were certain of the communications, whatever, you had to be escorted. I didn't have a clearance. I think I might have just had level 2, which is secret. So I couldn't go to some places. I just can't remember all the details, but some of the communications installations I couldn't go and look at.
What were your first thoughts when they posted you to the bunker?
I said, yeah, but there aren't any females in there. Well, the reason I went there, first of all, was because Mike and I got married. So they co-located us. Mike was at that time in CARP. So I didn't know, I figured I would be posted to Ottawa or somewhere, but they sent me to CARP, and I think initially I was kind of like shocked. There aren't any females. Well, guess what? You're the first one. So off we went.
Wow. So while you were posted there, were there any other women who started working?
I think there was one. They brought in one female reservist one summer, but I was only there 2 years. And after that, though, they started bringing in, when they started taking in female communicators again, they were sending in technicians and that. But that was after I left. So while I was there full time, I was the only one.
How did you deal with that dynamic? Did you?
Actually, it was my recollection now. I might have been kind of lonely that there was no female, whatever. But I mean, everybody's really nice to me. It's kind of like the mascot or something, The first female being there, and everybody was very careful, And so, I mean, that was a good time. It's just, I asked to be transferred after. Well, Major Olford, who was the CO there. He retired as a general, Major General, I think. But when he was leaving, I thought, oh, gee, I don't want to stay anymore, because you don't know who the next guy's going to be like or anything like that. So I just asked if I could, I'd been here 2 years, and I said all the time they were promising to bring in more females, and they didn't, whatever. So I said, I would really like to go somewhere. So I was posted that summer of 73 down to National Defense Headquarters, to Officer Careers Shop as a clerk there. And then we moved from CARP. I guess we were living in Elmwood at the time. And we moved into Bayshore, which was, like in the west end of Ottawa. So that was that.
Did you know much about the bunker before you were posted there?
I don't think so. I was like 20, I was 22. I wasn't right into history or anything like that. So I really didn't know much other than it was all underground and stuff like that.
Was that sort of any intimidating thoughts about working underground, or did anyone say anything about that?
No, I don't recall. It didn't bother me at all, or didn't get claustrophobic or anything. Sometimes when you were in between those two doors, you kind of thought, bleh. But anyway, and it was air conditioned. It was the only place around was air conditioned during the hot summer. So no, I don't recall having any qualms.
What was the security like to get in and out every day?
Well, you went in. There was an outside hut which was manned by military police. did you hand in your ID, your military ID, and you got your pass to go in? And then you went in through buzzed, and then one door open, you went in, the other door open. And then you had to, I think, register again with the military police inside, if I recall correctly. And then the same rigmarole going out. You handed in your pass, and then you picked up your ID, and off you went.
So who did you normally interact with while you were there during the day?
Well, it would be the clerks in the orderly room. Whoever happened to have a typing project, I may have been doing. The CO. I can remember one instance, the CO answered my phone. He said, Corporal DeNoble's office, Major Olfer speaking. So I'm saying that they were really nice, you know, so it wasn't like the raw military stuff, and you know, so much. And then he used to go down in the odd time if I was typing, he'd go down coffee break, he'd bring me a coffee, you know, like that. So they were all very nice to me. Oops. Anyway, so I don't have any bad memories, other than it was kind of boring and for me, and no interaction with females and stuff like that. So.
What was the social atmosphere like?
Oh yeah, they did have the all ranks mess, which I said I was secretary of for assistant and secretary of for the 2 years I was there, and they used to have some nice parties there. Yeah, it was all ranks and good parties. Yep. And of course, in the first year we were there, we lived in Carp, which was just down the road. And then of course we moved to Almont, which was a little bit of a drive away, but so it was good. And I got to know a lot of the few families who lived in Carp, and we would socialize with them and their wives. And then when we moved to Almont, it so happened that Mike's cousin, or his mother's cousin, lived down the road from us. So we started socializing with them. So that was good.
Yeah. What about the other people working at the bunker? Did you know everyone who was working there? Or were there
we got to know pretty well everyone, because you would interact them in some either socially or some other way, because you see them, you eat lunch together, so you got to know pretty well everybody. You knew the cooks, of course, and we still have had contact over the years with some of the cooks. One of the cooks, his name was Public Cover. And I think we saw him at the bunker when we visited. And I saw him when I was even working in Kingston here. When we went to the Connaught Ranges, he was working there. And same as another cook that was there. His name was Jim, but I forget his last name. So, but you definitely got to know most people.
Yeah. Sorry.
And of course, everybody knew who I was. So.
Because you were
yes.
female?
Yeah.
Wow. What about the other people who maybe lived around you in Carp and in Almont and then in Bayshore when you moved? What did they know about the bunker, and did they ever ask you questions about what you did or what it was about?
Well, no, I don't think anybody ever asked us any questions. In Carp, we had military above us. The fire chief, in fact, lived above us. And then, wasn't it the chief cook lived above us after? And they changed while we were there. And then the older folks along the street, they have been familiar with the bunker for whenever or for how long. And then the sergeant military police lived beside us. So, in Carp, that was that. And nobody ever asked me anything, no, about the bunker. And then in Almont, no, I don't recall. I mean, everybody had the basic idea what the bunker was about, when it was being built, and whatever was told them. And of course, I think we were cautioned not to say anything. I remember reading an article about it because they weren't, it was kind of secret in there. So I remember reading an article somewhere, they had, say 75 bathrooms, and I thought, that's wrong. Anyway. No, yeah, and we were restricted. We weren't supposed to say what was under there. So I don't remember anybody ever asking.
What about your family when you started working? What did you tell them about your job?
Well, I may have mention where I was working underground, but that's about all I could say. So, no, I don't. My mother, she didn't really ask many questions, and no. And Mike's family, I didn't see my parents that much because they lived in Thunder Bay, whereas Mike's parents, we were in Peterborough most of the time. So I don't remember them asking many questions. And like I say, you know, there were certain restrictions on what you were allowed to tell. So part of the package, I guess.
Was there ever any talk, or like, did you ever think about the rule about not being able to bring in anyone else in case there was a nuclear emergency?
What do you mean, like? Oh, like.
Bringing in family members with
Oh,
you.
I never really thought about it that much. I wasn't really that concerned. I didn't think it was going to happen myself. I never really thought about it. No. Now I know that they had a lockdown exercises and stuff like that, but I think they excused me because the sleeping arrangements and such things. So and before I got there, I mean, they used the women's washroom, and they had to stop that, of course, and stuff. I remember one time one guy walked in to the women's washroom down by the mess hall. And I said something, and I forget. He was kind of annoyed. You're the only one. Why do I have to go upstairs? Anyway, but then other than that, that just kind of popped in my head that did happen once. But of course, with no females, they didn't care, you know.
So you never stayed overnight at the bunker?
No, I don't believe I did. No, I think they just excused me because it's mostly communications, not as a clerk. So you know, I don't know if the other clerks went in or not. I just don't recall. Mike might remember, but I don't remember. No, I didn't stay.
So, I mean, you sort of already said, but did you have any sort of anxieties, or do you remember anyone else having anxieties about the possibility of a nuclear attack?
No. No, we never really. No. I remember asking the construction engineering officer one time, you know, like how safe is this place? How much can it withstand? And he told me that it could stand a direct hit of so many tons, but I forget now what it was. But no, I don't think I was ever concerned. No.
Did other staff members ever talk about that kind of thing?
Not that I recall. I did remember, though, that the CO, where the CO was actually the Prime Minister's suite. He was occupying that office. That was actually, because there was a bedroom in the back. So that was his office. So if anything happened, that's where he would go. No, I don't recall ever really being concerned about any of that stuff.
Do you remember any significant Cold War-related news stories from the time?
No, I don't. No, must have been very significant.
Oh, no, that's...
Yeah.
Did you know much about the Soviet Union?
Maybe not so much at that time in my life. I just knew that being a Finn, being Russian was bad, you know. With the history of Finland and Russia and communism and all that, I just knew that I didn't really trust them and stuff like that. But that's about all. It was just what I was brought up with, and Russia, Finland thing, you know, stuff like that.
Do you remember that ever being supported by opinions of those around you or the media, that kind of thing?
Well, there was always stuff in the media about Soviet Union doing this and doing that, and you know, but specifics I don't recall. No.
Do you remember anything happening regarding communism?
No, I don't think so. No.
Can you talk a little bit about how you reacted when you heard about the fall of the Berlin Wall?
Well, that was a joyous occasion in my mind for sure, because like I say, I'm really very anti-communist. And it was, I thought it was great. And then it all happened. And I actually thought that Gorbachev would have been a good man to handle this, that because they didn't let him handle it, it happened too quickly, and things could have gotten off on better track had it been done more slowly. You can't just go all of a sudden you're communist and then you're not. I mean, it's just going to be mayhem, in my opinion anyway. And I even still have a lot of respect for him. Even being a communist or whatever, I thought that when he started perestroika and all that stuff, I thought it was a step in the right direction, and he would have taken it, I think, at the proper speed, rather than they brought in that Yeltsin, was he? He's the one who took over? Albeit not supposed to be communist or anything, but I don't know, I think it wasn't done right, and as you know, Russia still isn't right, from what I hear. There's a lot of crime and all that stuff, and they're losing control. And Putin, I think, is just about this close to being communist himself, because they're restricting people from doing stuff again. And so it's going to take a long time for them to evolve from that mentality of corruption that ran them for so many years. That's just my opinion, be it misguided or whatever, but. Did I answer the question, or did I take off in a contingent to the side there?
That's perfect. I just remembered, though I forgot to ask earlier, but being the only woman in the bunker, there were things like, for a second. There were things like baseball teams and dart teams, and they played shuffleboard and that kind of thing. Were you ever involved in that? Or?
Well, I was never very sportsy anyway, so I was just happy to watch. It didn't bother me at all. I imagine when the girls, after they came, if they were sportsy, they were probably allowed to play. Things were progressing to that. I mean, we were always paid equally, sort of thing. So, I mean, there was a transition there when the females first started coming in. That some of the hard-end people didn't really care for it at all. But no, I don't recall being concerned about that at all. And like I say, didn't play sports much, so didn't bother me at all.
Did you ever feel any sense of animosity from anyone about you being in there?
Other than that gentleman who walked into the ladies' washroom, or was in there when I walked in, no, I don't recall. If they were very minor and didn't leave any impact on me. Then, they had to watch. I was a CO secretary. I had his ear every day, so probably that had something to do with it, eh? No, it was a nice group of people. Yeah.
Do you have any stories that you usually like to tell about your time in the bunker?
No. Other than what I've been saying, and there weren't, everything was pretty good. Other than the fact that it was time to go. 2 years was good. But we did, of course, Mike stayed there for a while, so we did go back to functions and stuff. And I got to know some of the girls that came in behind me. Excuse me. So, but I mean, this is so long time ago, my memory is not as good as it used to be. Like, this is 35 years ago or something. So,
and just one last question. Why do you think it's important to remember the Cold War and maybe your experiences?
Well, hopefully so that it wouldn't happen again. We wouldn't allow it to start again. Educate people and so that equal rights can prevail. I mean, you're supposed to learn from mistakes, and hopefully that was a mistake that that won't happen again, hopefully. But, I mean, people don't always learn.